What's up, everybody? Just want to come to y'all real quick, briefly, to speak about this Breonna Taylor situation and the lack of justice. I mean, that presser this morning really upset me. I'm not even gonna lie to y'all because we knew it was coming when they started boarding up the city. We knew that what that meant, that they were about to come with some bullshit, and they absolutely did. But also, what I want to talk about is some of the side narrative that's already happening. A lady in business who I really am sad I had to unfollow earlier today, about maybe an hour ago. She went live and she blamed this entire thing on Breonna's boyfriend. She's black. And that's disappointing because there were a bunch of people in the comments that were agreeing. And I'm going to get right to it because we don't have that much time. I know y'all don't have a lot of time to be listening to me rant and rave about things, so I'm going to get right to it. She proposed that the real problem was the boyfriend, that the boyfriend's choices to engage in illegal activities. Again, I don't even know if the boyfriend she was with was engaged in any illegal activities. I understand they say the ex-boyfriend was. That's what they were actually there for, etc. But again, this black woman put the entire blame on the man and said it was the man's fault. He's the one that got her killed. And it's so frustrating because as a black man, we get blamed for everything. And this black woman went on to talk about how so many black women get caught up in these situations with black men who are involved in illegal activity, and that, again, none of this is the black woman's fault, apparently, according to her. It's not on black women in terms of who they choose to date as partners. It all comes down to the black man. But even deeper than that, what really bothers me, because again, I'm not a judgmental person. I understand that it's not right for us to sell drugs in our own communities. However, I also understand there's a reason why we're selling drugs in our own communities. I get tired of these conversations because people have them as if everything is happening in a vacuum. It's not. We are part of a system that has created conditions and environments where these things occur. And when we start blaming one another as black men and black women, we are missing the motherfucking mark. We are not understanding that is exactly what the system wants us to do. No, we shouldn't be involved in crime. No, we shouldn't be involved in these things, but we have to take a look at the bigger picture as to why so many of us fall into these traps. And frankly, women who choose to date men that are involved in crime sends a message to black men that I need to be involved in crime to get a woman. Y'all may not want to agree with that, but it's the fact, it's the truth. And it's also one of the factors. It's not the only factor. There's of course, the other factor that a lot of these black men can't find jobs. They can't get that money honestly. So they turn to what seems like easier access to money. Again, some of that is also because of education, which isn't equal in this country. And some of these black men are coming from homes where the mom and dad didn't have no education, the grandparents didn't have no education, the great-grandparents didn't have no education, and the great-great-parents were slaves. And we know that our great-great ancestors were not even allowed to have access to education. They were murdered, hung, etc., if they were found to be educated. So a lot of lack of education within our communities over generations and generations and generations lead to a lot of bad choices and bad decisions. And so again, I'm not about to blame no black woman for choosing a black man who is involved in crime because she's looking at how he has money to protect and provide, and she's going to overlook some of the shit he's doing to protect and provide. I get that. Again, I'm not going to be mad at us for the decisions we end up making. Again, they're not always the best decisions, but we are in a system that produces environments and circumstances that none of us chose to be in. We're born into it. And in order to survive this system, choices have to be made, again, which are not always the best choices. And yet we end up getting mad at one another instead of getting mad at the system. Instead of getting mad at the people who prop the system up, who refuse to help us change the system, all the people who continue to blame us for things rather than the police. Because again, damn who she was dating, damn what choices he made. The police had no right to murder anybody. I don't care what that man was doing. They shouldn't have been trying to murder him or his wife or his girlfriend or anybody in that apartment. They had it, the entire scenario is bizarre, and it's one of many. There are so many situations we never even hear about that don't even get on the news, on social media. They don't get viral. So many situations like this. And again, we're not going to change it if we start fighting with one another. That's ignorant. It's ignorant. We're not going to stop one another from making these bad decisions if we're not acknowledging the system we're in that leads to the bad situations and the bad choices. You know, this is what I talked about in a video I made a while back called Victims Fight. It's based on the reality that too many of us have believed the white man's narrative that none of us are victims anymore. And that's that black woman's problem. She's on this, we don't have to, you know, keep making excuses, etc., that we're actually free, we can all make money, etc., etc. But that's fantasy talk. And too many black people in business do this. We get this fantasy talk going. This all any of us have to do is pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. That's fantasy talk. Not every black person comes from an environment that is going to enable them to have the confidence or even the resources to engage in real estate investing and business ownership and all these things. That's fantasy. We may want that for all of our people, but the reality is this society has beat our people down to the point that we're not going to make those decisions and choices, and we have to understand that. We don't. But we need to understand that, because we're not going to change this shit if we continue to think that we're not victims. We have to understand that we are victims, because then we'll fight. Then we'll do the things we need to do to get out of the situations that we're in. But so long as we tell one another that we're not victims and we continue to blame each other for choices we're making in a system that pushes us towards the decisions, we're never going to change this shit. Fuck 12. I'm through.